on this, fourth day of Cryptocurrency Month, National Cryptocurrency Month. And so glad to have Drew in studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning. I did not know October is Cryptocurrency Month.
Well, how would you?
Unless I came to the radio station.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're browsing the Hallmark cards, at the store, you're not going to see a cryptocurrency card.
Hallmark has got one coming, believe me.
That's right.
We learned so much last week, Drew. It's something completely foreign to me, at least. And so our conversation about this last week really helped educate me personally. And so looking forward to additional information today.
Yeah, we kind of did a introduction. I kind of wanted to talk about maybe the benefits, the positive aspects of crypto, and then next week we could do the negative.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Which would be, and just a little, just to tell the audience that I used to be anti-Bitcoin. I used to make fun of it all the time in my classes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, so I got to break that off. I changed my mind on Bitcoin, but not a fan of other cryptos.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. And you'll know by next week the reason why. So,
and last week you took some fear out of it. I mean, I think we all have kind of a natural fear of something that's kind of, almost voodoo,
Yeah. So.
And I can't wait to see how it lines up with the teachings of the church, because some of it seems to be an absolute contradiction to some of the things we talked about before, and then some of the pros behind it as well.
So I think there's like a mania for cryptocurrency, and even where I teach, I talk to students, and they'll have these apps of these new cryptos popping up out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, you got to see this new one," but there's no value in it. It's just all speculation, and it's all I feel like pump and dump, where they're trying to pump it up, and then they're trying to make a profit. It has nothing to it. So I want to stick just to Bitcoin itself.
Okay.
It was created in 2008 that we talked about. It's decentralized. So think about one of the Catholic principles of subsidiarity. If a local or authority could take care of it rather than a centralized authority, that should be the perspective that we should take. And there's nothing more decentralized away from central authorities than Bitcoin. There's nobody controlling it. There's no controlling interests. Now you have interests that would like you to have the price go up, would like you to buy into it, but they don't have any controlling of it. So what Bitcoin is,
they can't really set the value of it.
They can't set the value. It's all about supply and demand. It is a online ledger that you could purchase into it, where you would control it. Everyone sees the purchase that you made, but they don't know who you are. So it does protect you from some stuff. Now you could say then you can get into things with the legal activities. But let's do some more of the benefits. Next week, I do got some negative sides of crypto. So some of the benefits is that we can look at, if you look at the history of man, anytime another country took over a country, they have taken their wealth. They have taken, you can look at the wars that we had, World War II, different groups have lost everything. And you can't save gold in a way where, how do you transport silver and gold if there's a war that breaks out? You can't just put it in your suitcase and run with it. Now Bitcoin is the first time in the history of man, if you want to think of it this way, that you could literally have every government at your house pointing a gun at your head and saying, "Give me your wealth." And they could take it. They could take any other kind of method. This is the first time the technology that you can literally, if you wanted to, not saying you should, but you could die with your wealth. There's nothing a government can do if you have it protected. So if you look at that perspective, I look at it as, can it protect families with their wealth? Look at the case of, let's say, Canada. If you remember, the truck drivers were protesting with the mandates of COVID. There's no, if you had your money in their bank accounts, they were shutting you down, the government.
Oh my goodness.
So if they knew if you were participating in that protest, your whole bank account was shut down and you had you lost everything. But if you have cryptocurrency, if you have Bitcoin, there's nothing the government can do. They have no clue what you have. Now, they might have an idea that you transferred your money to an exchange server, but it does protect you. Those who hate central banking, this is a remedy in some respects for that, because central banking, you have a controlling banking institution that controls the control of money. They control the value of money if they print a lot more dollars, and the government can devalue your currency. In Bitcoin specifically, there's a set amount of Bitcoins where they can't print anymore and they can't devalue it. The only way it gets devalued if people stop purchasing it, right? If people don't want it. So it definitely does hold its value. And we talked about this before, like gold. Gold, if you look at 100 years ago, is gold a good investment? I would say no. It holds its value. Gold is pretty good. Because about 100 years ago, it cost about an ounce of gold to buy a fitted suit. And if you look at today, how much does it cost to buy a fitted suit? An ounce of gold. So it held its value, but it's not a good investment. Bitcoin is, I would say, has grown in value. It's, by many people would call it the digital gold. So it has that kind of properties. What else? But one thing people have to understand about Bitcoin is not a currency. It does not substitute the dollar. So anything that you have to purchase within the next couple months, you have to have the US dollar. But this is if you want to put money aside, but you don't want to invest it into some risky scheme. This is a great way to save, I would say, save your wealth in that respect.
Well, and Drew, and this might be coming up next week, but if I take my money and I put it into the bank then takes that money and it invests it into various projects going on, mortgages, new builds, all that kind of thing, and then that money grows in value because of that. So Bitcoin, is it used in any way in that way, or is it just sitting there and growing because there's interest of other people participating in the purchase of Bitcoin?
So the value of Bitcoin, you can look at it as digital property. The reason why it grows in value, you own a certain percent of that digital property online, and there's a fixed amount of it. It's more based on, we'll say, property like you own beachfront property in Florida. Something that's desirable. But the benefit about Bitcoin is that you could denominate it. If you had a $10 million gold bar and you want to buy a piece of bread, you can't do that. So gold has its limits, but Bitcoin could be denominated in any kind of dollar. So you could sell a penny worth of Bitcoin. You could sell $1 million worth of Bitcoin. So I would say that is a huge benefit to that. But Bitcoin, to answer your question, is Bitcoin is not used to into the system. You own it 100%. So it's more like a 100% reserve system, where if you put your money into a bank, they will use that money and they will buy government bonds. So remember Silicon Valley Bank went bankrupt? So that was about 2 years ago now, maybe even longer. I forgot how long. Silicon Valley Bank, what they did was they took all the deposits from depositors and they bought 10-year government securities because they wanted that small interest rate. And what happened was the interest rate skyrocketed, the largest for a long time in a short period of time. So anytime the interest rate goes up, the value of the bond goes down. People found out about that, so they had to sell their $1,000 par value bond for half the price.
Yeah.
But you will not have that problem with Bitcoin. You don't have anybody gambling your money, I would say.
Well, let me ask you this. I've seen a lot of celebrities coming forward to promote Bitcoin, and I just want to know, have you been hired by Bitcoin?
So here's a couple
because
things.
You're so popular.
So here's a couple things about that. Those celebrities try to get the exchanges. Maybe we can talk about that next week. That is different. That's what houses the Bitcoin.
Oh, I got you.
But it's not the Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
So we'll talk about that next week, and we'll also talk about how do you save your money from those exchanges like FTX.
Wow.
Well, you're so smart. You take what I want to be funny and make an actual answer.
That's right, yeah. Beautiful.
Sorry.
Smartest
good
man
question.
in the room is always Drew Blazsik. Thank you so much.
See ya.
We'll be right back.